So, this is Dr. Bud Pierce, but we get to call him Bud because he said we could, because he's not a snotty guy.
I am not.
He is you're an oncologist.
I'm an oncologist, a medical cancer doctor.
So you're in the business of saving lives.
I'm in the business of doing all I can to cure people and always relieve pain and suffering if you can.
So can you do that for Oregon?
I believe I can do that for Oregon. I believe that with new leadership, we can take a state that is doing phenomenally well with the leadership we have and take it to new heights.
What are you going to do, Bud? What kind of talk to people about some of the things you're going to do?
Well, I think the focus, a huge focus, is around the dignity of work. I really think that that is a key that we're missing. And what I mean by that is everyone says, well, unemployment is incredibly low and we can't get enough workers. Well, that may be, but when you look at the numbers, a different story is told. We have about 4 million Oregonians. We have about 3 million of working age. We have 2 million people working and 500,000 are part-time jobs. So there are a lot of people that have been cast out. They're not part of mainstream society, and we generally support them by public and private charities, but the real thing to do is to get them back in the game and back into productive life. And so you face a homelessness situation in Eugene, we have it in Salem, you go to Portland, it's very much out of control. And what we need to do is we have to start creating these public-private partnerships, the public sector weighing in with enough floor, enough stability to keep the program alive, and bringing the private people in to change lives. So a lot of times ex-alcoholics want to help people who are struggling with alcoholism, people that have a drug issue, got to treat their mental illness. And then right away we have to start bringing in responsibility into their lives and training and a way to get them ready to go to work. Because when you have the dignity of work, it anchors your life in a meaningful way, and it makes you medically healthier, physically healthier, psychologically healthier, spiritually healthier. And that's, I think, what we're missing. Also, you talk about race relations and people getting along. The way people really get along is when they're working together for a grand effort. That's where really people get along. So I grew up outside of an Air Force base. The families there, many races and religions and backgrounds, but we were all part of the military family. Then when I went into athletics, commonly you'd have people of different ethnic backgrounds. If you're on a great team together and think about winning, you love each other. Of course, if you start losing, it's hard to love anyone. And then and then when I went into the Marine Corps myself, the same kind of feeling. And in our practice, where we have Latinos and other ethnicities, when people are working together, they learn to play together and relate together. So I think the missing key, more than anything else, is enough work for every citizen. There's a recent legal decision saying that people that are in shelter situation, not getting full benefits like a full-time worker, we can't do that anymore. They have to be mainstreamed. The great fear of that is their work will be taken away from them. And whether you have a disability or not, or any kind of impairment, the ability to get up and join other people and be productive in your life is the one thing we have to focus on more than anything else. If we do that right, and that's going to make changes social service net, it's going to take public-private partnerships, it's going to take a change in education, career technical, university path, it's going to make our government want our businesses to really succeed so they can create a huge variety of jobs with a tremendous variety of options. That's where we need to focus as a society.
I heard a report this morning that was done out of Portland on women, and it said that Oregon is the bottom of the list when it comes to single women being able to work and make a living. And we're number 50. We are the bottom of the pile when it comes to this. What do we do?
And it's bleaker than that. It's actually, we're at the bottom of the pile in terms of high violence against women and high sexual violence against women. And people that don't have a good job and a good economic situation are often exploited. And again, it gets to that prosperity. Oregon is also the second least affordable state,
right,
meaning low wages, high cost of living. Obviously, what the government can do is do everything it can to lead to business success, because prosperous businesses can pay their workers well. And when businesses are competing for workers, they will pay better because they have to, and lower our cost of living. We have death by a million cuts. There's so many rules and regulations on us Oregonians. We have to contribute to government. It makes our cost of living too high.
If you don't believe that, all you got to do is start your own business. When I worked for Carolyn Chambers at KZI, she signed the check. I never knew that. Having my own business like this, you can't win, and it's so hard just to get off the ground, let alone to make a profit or anything. And I never realized that until I was here. I want to also do something, full disclosure. Bud is paying for this time, like anybody else this comes on. on, and Kate Brown, the governor, can come on too as opponent. She can do the same thing if she pays for the time. And I'm not a journalist anymore, so I can say the things that I like and dislike. I like this man. Another thing I really like about Bud is he is opposed to Measure 97. Because as long as we're talking about business, let's talk about Measure 97.
So Measure 97 is a 2.5% gross receipts tax on C corporations. That's the way you construct your business, on all the gross revenue over $25 million. So to make the numbers simple, if you receive $125 million in receipts, and therefore you have $100 million at risk for the gross receipts tax of 2.5%, that'd be $2.5 million. If your profit's $1 million, well, it's tough. You just took a loss of $1.5 million. And even more worrisome, let's not talk about the business issue, because people, it's hard to understand to run a business. Right. But the Legislative Revenue Office, the consumer report of our legislature, if anything is biased toward the government, says it'll cost 38,000 to 40,000 private sector jobs either lost or not created. And the average Oregon family, their cost of living will go up by $600 every year, ranging from $400 to $1,100. And that's because half or two-thirds of the time the cost can be passed on to the person purchasing the good or service. And actually the other time what will tend to happen is it'll be taken out of the employee's wages and benefits. So that's what's going to happen, and I cannot support any measure that costs us 38,000 to 40,000 private sector jobs and increase our unbearable cost of living by another $600.
I mean, for people, what I don't understand is how Oregonians cannot see that this is going to, like Winco, I'm sure makes over $25 million. I shop there. Who's going to pay the price? It's going to add to my oranges, my beef price. I mean, I don't understand how people can't see that.
Correct, and it's multi-tiered, because if you start with a wheat field that sells their wheat to a wheat consolidator and they pay the 2.5% tax, and they sell to the cereal maker who pays the 2.5% tax, and they sell to the supermarket that pays the 2.5% tax. Now it's 7.5%. You'll never see it. Your $3 box of cereal will go to $3.24, and you don't even know you've been taxed.
And the other thing I wanted to make the point on that too is, does it specifically say that money is earmarked for education and seniors and retirement?
Unfortunately, it does not. So even if you have,
but the commercials on TV say that it is, and on the radio say it.
Commercials are very misleading. Again, this was analyzed by the attorneys in the legislature, and they said there's nothing in the statute that mandates that money go to any area. The language of the measure says this would be a great place to put it. This is why we're putting it forward. No requirement for that to happen. And when you put a bunch of money to the legislature, number one, we know a lot of it's going to the public employee retirement system, which is in desperate trouble. And again, if we don't have real government reform and control of the cost of government, we'll face another Measure 97 in 5 years and another until we really can't afford to live here.
So what do we do about PERS? I know you have ideas. So what do we, because there's a lot of people that we all know who are wonderful people who are planning on that. That's their retirement. You can't just jerk that out from under them.
Yeah, well, not only can you not, by law you cannot. So the people that are retired now are 100% covered. All the accrued benefits up to now are 100% recovered. All the people that came in under a tier of PERS, if you came in under Tier 1 of PERS and you're still Tier 1, you get all Tier 1 going forward, Tier 2, Tier 3.
But so what do we do for Oregon?
So what do we do with Oregon? Okay, so what can we do? What looks legal? So these are fine things we can do. There's a payment formula called Money Match that pays Tier 1 PERS recipients an annuity. We tend to give a 7 or 8% annuity because we're generous. We can make a market rate 2 or 3%. There's ways of calculating the final benefit based on the highest 3 years of service and wage. You can make it 5 years. There's ways that spiking occurs where you take sick leave and you take vacation and you apply it to your pay to make it look higher. That likely can be modified. Finally, this is the hardest part going forward. For current PERS employees around the country, on average, government employees that have a PERS-like system, about 22% of their wage benefit goes into the PERS system to support it. Oregon's is uniquely required to be 0 for most employees. So I'm not saying go 0 to 22, but I'm saying as we go forward, some of the raises that we wanted to give to the employees are going to have to go to support the system directly rather than them individually. And finally, we are, as a society, are going to have to take some general fund money that we would like to spend on education, transportation, and other important programs and backfill PERS, because we can't have our school districts, our counties, and municipalities broken. So all of us contribute. Current public employees are probably going to have to, going forward, contribute a little bit more, but they still have an excellent retirement system most private sector doesn't have, and try to lower the cost of some of these payouts that you don't have to do while still maintaining the guarantees. And finally, new hires at a given date going forward have to be on a defined contribution, not a defined benefit. So you put in a generous contribution and the employee manages just like the private sector. And so 20 or 30 years from now, it will no longer be an issue. We have to at least give that to the future, that they don't have to go through what we have to go through because the past burdened us with this system.
So what does a guy or a woman, in your case a guy, with an R in front of his name in Oregon do to actually beat your opponent, who is wasn't an elected governor, but is a sitting governor?
Yeah, we desperately need to broaden the base of the Republican Party. And what we have to do is attract conservative people, because the Republican Party is a conservative party. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean in the Abraham Lincoln way. And he said, conservatives are just people that have a good comfort for what got us here, what works. And if you think about it, family and work and a faith component, because we're from Northern Protestants, that's where our party started, but we're not talking about religion, just that faith benefit. We think that is quite important. Interestingly, public schools, that's a very conservative value. That started in the colonies. Interestingly, legal immigration is a very conservative value, because the country is built on legal immigration. So that's conservatism. So we need to reach out and find other conservatives. We have lots of conservatives in the people of color. You'll find incredible conservatives in the African American community in Northeast Portland, in the Latino community, in the Asian, Indian community, and Asians in general. These are extremely conservative people who fit perfectly in this moderate idea of conservatism, and they should be Republicans. And we need to get them, and everyone who views the conservative philosophy, which is freedom, liberty, work, family, and again, usually a spiritual or faith component, although that's certainly not mandatory. That's where we have to go as a party. And if we can't broaden that attractiveness, we don't have much of a future.
Right, because they've made themselves so, the Republican Party seems to have made itself so narrow that there's a whole bunch of us, like me, who can't fit into that anymore, because
Correct.
The M word, moderate, which I think is a good word, everything in moderation, that's kind of my theme,
I think legacy is what we like to use. It has a better feel. So legacy is Abraham Lincoln, Tom McCall, Vic Atiyeh, Mark Hatfield.
Right.
These are people of principle, great public policy, limits on government power, and the environment, Tom McCall. Those are all conservative values. So again, conservatism used in the positive way, which is what it is a movement that people can join, and we need to get there.
So let me ask you this real fast.
Sure.
Yesterday on Lars Larson, he had asked, I didn't hear it because I'm not a big Lars listener, but I heard that he asked you a question about the president. You can clear this up, who people should vote for, and then will you tell him what was going on with that?
Sure. Well, again, what I came out and said recently was that I do not want anyone to vote for Hillary Clinton. And I have troubles with Secretary Clinton because she wasn't honest under oath. And if you think back to Travelgate, that was a little bit of our era, and people can read about that. She had a private email server, deleted emails to keep secrets from us as Secretary of State. And by the way, her family foundation took millions of dollars of donations to her charity while she's Secretary of State from foreign entities. In my book, that excludes you from any possibility of being President of the United States. I said that so people shouldn't vote for Hillary if they follow my recommendation, and I'm not a strong third party or minor party advocate. I just don't go there. I don't think so. Then the issue came up about Donald Trump, and I said people should vote their conscience. And if they want Donald Trump, that's great, and I back them in that decision making. But I believe it comes down to an individual decision. The idea a little bit it was a little bit of a step back from endorsement, which is from the primary. And what I found in traveling in the Portland metro area, especially, which is where we need to get votes, we have 1.8 million Oregonians, and we have 2.4 million total people in that area, is that Mr. Trump hasn't made a strong case to unify the Republicans, nor the conservatives that I'm talking about, toward his campaign. And so therefore, I took that small step back and said, as I'm saying to you, that I'm no Hillary Clinton, not interested in third party, vote your conscience. And that's where I took my stand, and I think that's where I feel comfortable doing.
Right, and then I heard people calling in saying, well, then he just lost by vote, and to which I would want to say then, so you're going to vote for Kate Brown, which they probably would say no. So it's kind of one of those tactics that we use. Instead of supporting people, we like to throw darts, and I just wanted to address that a little bit on there.
Yeah, and again, I would just say that if you vote, if you're a conservative, if you're a Republican, you vote for Bud Pierce for governor, and I become governor, I will make your life better in the way that you want it better. And while certainly presidential politics are important in our daily lives, I would just say that to have the right governor of Oregon is very important to your daily life, or what we have here in Oregon will keep going on. So it's status quo, the way it's going, or someone new.
How do the numbers look right now, the polls?
All over the place. We have seen polls. I read something today that some recent poll had me 8 behind. We've seen them +2, -2. I actually saw one that had me 19 ahead that I don't believe. It's so hard to poll now because people don't want to answer their cell phone. They don't want to answer their landline. They're not necessarily confident that the information they're giving is private. And so commonly a good pollster will have to make 50 phone calls to get one response and then try to normalize that response. So it's very difficult. So we're just running. We're happy where we are. Debate season is starting, and it's very exciting.
So now, when are your debates with your opponent?
So we start this Saturday in Bend, and then the following Friday, Portland at the City Club, then the following week in Eugene at the League of Women's Voters. Then we have Medford the following week, and then we end up at KGW in Portland. So an exciting time to put a 25-year career politician next to a private citizen that's had a full life full of leadership opportunities, who have very different views on the relationship of government to the citizen. And I think it's beautiful because it gives people a chance to look at the presentation and have some kind of choice. And I think representative democracy, more than anything else, needs to allow people to have a choice in who they select as leaders.
So if people out there going, so an oncologist, a doctor as governor, it's actually not the first time, is it?
Well,
Mr. Kitzhaber was a doctor.
Well, I would say this. The difference between, a fundamental difference between me and John Kitzhaber is I practiced medicine full-time until September 2nd. So up until all these last 18 months, I've either been a 5 or 4 day a week doctor and campaigning on top of that, and then on the weekends. And now I'm a full-time campaigner for 9 weeks. Governor Kitzhaber had a strong desire for public service and elected office early on. So he started shifting out of medicine, and certainly had been long out of medicine before he began his 3rd term, much more into public policy. So I'm an in the trenches, grassroots, day-to-day guy with a practice that has regular patients, not highly specialized, almost like a family practice for cancer patients. The vast majority of my time is spent with regular people, regular employees, most of whom have a high school degree, a few have a 2-year college degree, and a vanishingly few beyond that. And so I had this huge experience with people on a regular basis, hearing their issues, hearing their problems, and I really feel that I can champion their causes.
Do you think people are really tired in Oregon?
I think people are getting tired of different problems in different areas. In the rural areas, it's poverty and a government that does not listen to them or even acknowledge their presence. In the more prosperous metropolitan areas, it's traffic gridlock, it's homelessness, it's untreated mentally ill, it's unaffordable housing, it's K through 12 that is not functioning at a high enough level in many cases, it's unaffordable university education, it's a lack of career technical education. So the question is, when will they tire enough so that they're willing to move in a different direction? I'm hoping it's 2016. The citizens will decide.
Is your wife right outside the door? Is she?
My wife was outside the door. You want to call her?
I just want to have her sit. Now, I can't be here when she's here, but I want her to come in. Hello? Come on. No. We got just a few more minutes because you guys have a meeting you have to get to. But I'm going to get up and have you sit and just, Selma, introduce yourself. And then you can talk to folks. Just got to lean in there. Okay, so tell him why he's such a great... First, introduce yourself and tell him why he's such a great guy.
Hi, I'm Salma Pierce, and I'm married to this guy. I've been married to him for 35 years, and he is the greatest. Honest, forthright, has a lot of integrity, and what he says is what he does. He's so straightforward. He's so transparent. Everything you know about him, he'll tell you all our secrets if he wants to.
So what do you do? What do you do in the world?
I'm a retired dentist, but I work a lot in the community. I also involved in some dental screening and working doing some volunteer dental work on the Medical Teams International Dental Van.
So why do you think Bud would make a good governor for Oregon?
Because he's a good guy, really good guy. I mean, he's probably the best that I've ever met, and I'm not partial on this, even though we've been married 35 years. But hey, I wouldn't pick somebody who wasn't really good, would I?
So in terms of, has this been harder, the campaign, than you thought?
No, actually, it's a lot easier, because you would hear a lot of people say, oh, you know, don't run. It's really terrible. But the best part is going around the state, talking to all the people, finding out what they would like to have and what their issues are. And, you know, there's nothing like getting the information directly from the people, because they have a lot of good stuff to say.
Now, I saw a video where the two of you were down in a homeless camp in downtown Portland, and you had to have learned a lot.
I wasn't there that day, Bud was, but I have also volunteered at some homeless events and meeting the people. And I've been over to the Union Gospel Mission in Salem. They're regular people, just down on their luck, trying to find a way, trying to find something better.
The homeless camp that I visited in Portland, there's two. One was completely disorganized, chaotic. It was atrocious. Filth, people actively on drugs at a very significant level, suffering, you know, human degradation, unacceptable to me that how in the United States of America or Portland, Oregon, we can let people sink to that level and not help them and not get them out of there. I mean, it is unimaginable to me. And so again, crying out for that private-public partnership. There was also a much more organized camp outside of Chinatown, which was actually run by people that had gotten out of that level of addiction and desperation, and doing a great job showing that there are people that the next step for them should be working and meaningful work and not just maintaining the camp in order. So again, showed the transformation of people that desperately need to be rescued in a positive way, and the people that have been rescued to a level where clearly the next step was to get them to be productive citizens and create and be able to work and have an independent life and the dignity of work. And it showed where we're stymied. We're stymied in not helping the people that are desperately in trouble, and then we're stymied in the people that have rescued themselves, but they're out of the work experience and they don't quite fit in exactly, and we have to find a way to get them more work ready, or frankly to help the employers who'll take them in with a tax credit or a subsidy so they'll take a chance on them, much like prisoners who've served their time. A lot of employers are very hesitant to take them in, but if you can give them an incentive, and a lot of the people that come out of prison, if they have a job, will work and be good citizens, and they won't end up back in jail. If we don't do it, they go back. They gotta go back.
So, Bud, give them your information in terms of how people can get a hold of you, your website, that kind of thing.
So sure, budpierce.com is our active website. Communicate with us. Follow us on Bud Pierce for Governor on Facebook, and we'd love to have support. And please register to vote and vote to your conscience. That's what I'd have you do.
All right. Thanks for being here, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I know you got a meeting, so I'm going to let you out of here just a couple minutes early. So just tell them that Rick made you late. That would be really awesome.
That's good. That is perfectly okay. Rick is a good guy. If he makes us late, it is A-okay.
They'll go, yeah, he was probably talking about it. So you guys remember to vote. Now you've had some education, and also obviously Kate Brown, Governor Kate Brown, the invitation is for you to come on too if you want to. So you guys, I'll talk to you soon. Spread this around, send it to your friends, let people see and know what's going on. All right, see you guys later. Both of you wave a little bit. That's kind of fun. Yeah, there you go. Cool.